Hey guys, I think it's recording this time. I tried to record this a few moments ago, but then it didn't record. It didn't. The recording got all messed up, and probably for good reason, because I don't think I covered it as much as I was supposed to cover. Like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, or not. So, I wanted to talk about, of course, mental health is a big issue, and you're kind of seeing on the grand scale, a mental health crisis. You got to pinpoint the reason behind it before you can properly address it. So how do you do that? Figure out what makes you feel better versus not making you feel as good, right? I mean, that's pretty much as simple. So first we're going to look at it from an intellectual point of view, and then we're going to look at it from an emotional point of view, because it's both. Structure moves energy. That's the state of reality. That's how our universe works, right? This is a structure, and it's moving energy. And the structure is dictated by how much information it's holding. So all the bits and zeros and ones are all moving a certain amount of energy. That's how microchips work, right? We're building more complex structures on the micro scale to move way more information, and then that creates a lot of heat that they have to dissipate because it's so small, and they're trying to move so much current through something so tiny that it's cooking itself. Right? We don't want to cook ourselves. So let's go back to and think about this, right? If our structure isn't moving energy, then there's a mental health crisis. We're moving less and less energy, and if we're moving less energy, and this is being caused by the time that we're living in, because as we go towards the galactic sheet and there's more energy moving through the system, it's forcing your body to move more energy. And if it can't move energy, you're in a mental health crisis. Now, why is that happening? Let's look at everyone as a whole. And if you're moving farther apart intellectually and emotionally, then there's a resistance, right? There's a constant resistance. When everybody's trying to sell something to each other, it creates a resistance. Now, if you start moving closer by creating something together, which is the only way that you're ever going to continue to move closer to anybody, if you ever put yourself in a superior or inferior position to anyone else, you're creating a resistance, right? So the only way that you can really grow closer to somebody is being acceptance of one another, of wherever they're at, and grow closer in the heart space. And that creates a structure that moves more energy by just realizing that the only thing that any of us really are is just a beating heart moving energy and information. That's it. And that there's one heart. There really is only one heart. Anytime you look at the center of anything, and expand out, you'll see the center of something else, where everything comes out from and then goes back to. Look at our galaxy. Look at a group of galaxies. They even formulate themselves into another big toroidal field where it's all coming from one point and back to one point. Look at a cell. Look at an atom. Everything looks exactly the same. So when we create resistances between one another and this is the number one reason why it happens, is because we look to the external reality too much and judge ourselves, and then consequently judge other people by external things, whether it's how we look, how they're temporarily acting. And the only reason that somebody might be acting a certain way is because they're drawn to that external reality, right? They're not happy with something that's happening externally, instead of understanding that we all have an infinite amount of information and knowledge that comes from right here. I constantly get asked to weigh in on things on LinkedIn, and this is one of the latest. It's always about executive leadership, right? This was a question. the people around you are having a hard time staying focused on the tasks, and they're all remote workers. How do you get them to focus back on the task at hand? And I haven't answered this question yet, but I probably will. I'm not sure. I might just post this video. I don't know. And the answer is you need to flip that around and think about that a different way, right? If the project you're working on isn't bringing people close to the idea or the intent of the project you're working in isn't to bring people closer together to work together, then the heart of the people working on that project aren't going to be in it, right? And that comes down to the basic idea of how we work together. If you create a hierarchical model at all, where you're giving somebody more value than somebody else, you're not really working together, right? You're saying, well, this person here is the authority. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, when you look around everything that we have around us, we're just creating things together. And the way that we create them dictates how well we're working together. And if we're creating things that drive us apart, then it means that it's coming from an internal state where we're trying to weigh our needs above the needs of someone else, which drives us apart. I could pull cards here and become a tarot reader, but I don't need the cards to tell me that each and every one of you are dealing with grounding out negative emotional states, possibly within yourself, but more than likely from projected negative emotional states from people around you. People that might be trying to compete with you. Maybe they're envious. Maybe they're jealous. Maybe they're just nothing at all. There's so many, the human condition is so complex. Whenever we try to attach ourselves to anything external, that it always drives us apart, right? In some way. It makes us feel like we're less than, and the reality is that we're all creating ourselves from here, creating our own reality. And our own reality is created by how much we're able to detach from the external. Because that's where all the energy information is focus point, right? Right at your heart space. And how well you're connecting with other people in their heart space and expressing how much you love them. This is the emotional aspect. Knowing it intellectually is one thing. But if you can express yourself and tell people how much you care about them, regardless of what's going on around you, and what's external, that's what brings you closer together with each other, right? I just want to give this message today because it's really important that people understand how they're showing up for themselves in their business. And I'm not here to cast stones or say that whatever any of you are doing is negative. But I encourage you to think about mental health and the reality behind what causes a negative mental state. Whenever we think negatively about somebody else's actions, we are tying ourselves to the external and not understanding that the only reason that we're thinking negatively about that person is because that person's doing the same thing, right? That's the only reason they're lashing out, trying to create drama in their atmosphere because they're tied to the external in some way. They don't understand that all of us are the same. We all come from right here, and that's where we all go back to. All of these things mean nothing, right? Well, the way we look, all those things. And so that is the ultimate transmutation of and healing of your environment when you understand and you'll see everybody around you where they're maybe worried about the future. It's like, well, what'll happen tomorrow if we just start building and creating together? It's like, well, I'm sure it'll be better than what we have today. Right? I mean, that's not really a secret. It's just about becoming humble and humbling yourself to the needs of the people around you instead of saying, well, I need to take care of myself. And this is how it's been for so long, right? Because when people are tied to the external, it forces you, it creates a psychological state that's what's getting projected in your environment. And then people think, oh, I need to protect myself on the external or else or else A, B, and C, something's going to happen to me. instead of understanding that everything is created from a state of being. And that's how we create our own reality. Love you guys. You know, some of the most humble people I've ever met are the people that are drug users or people that have problems, where they can't control their emotions. They're tied to some external thing to regulate their emotional state. And those are, in a lot of ways, I would rather work with those people than anybody else in this world, because they've humbled them. They are humbled by what they've gone through. It's a lot harder to work with somebody who is only focused on the external and created so much external wealth at the cost of their own soul, right? We don't even realize we're doing it, completely unconscious of it. And then we unconsciously judge one another by the external, what they have around them or what they don't have around them, which none of that means a squat. You can't take it with you. And it means nothing. In the eternal state, it means nothing. The only thing I care about is spending time with you. And if we're not resting together and we're not having recreation together, then we might as well be creating together, right? What else is there? If we're not doing that, then we're creating a mental health crisis, whether we realize it or not. And consider this a channeled message on that front. I pulled an oracle card earlier and it just said shine. So I encourage you guys to shine your light and be brave and trust people and show them that you trust them, but also say, look, you need to take care of yourself. What are you creating for yourself? And it's not my job. It's not my job to take care of you, but it is my job to set boundaries and say, I'm willing to give as much of myself to you as you're willing to give to me. And that's all about time. It has nothing to do with money. You cannot put a price on your time. You can't. And since we tried doing that, since we've tried to put a price on our time, we have taken ourselves out of the moment. Because now we're worried about how much money we have to create more time later, instead of realizing that we have all the time that we have ever needed right now. I think I talked about this enough. Right. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day, and we'll catch you in the next one.